Hey everybody, it's time to roll to win. We've got our third submission for toss analysis. This is a name, voice you're all going to recognize. So he said, no need to try to keep me private. Dave Carlin from Same Bet has sent me his toss with his brand new table that I'm so proud that he finally got. I know he's been waiting a long time and had a lot of frustrations on getting that fine table. Now it's a monster 14 footer. So let's get started. See what we can do to help Dave out, or if we even need to.
All right, let's throw a few and see where we're at. So I'm using 5, 4, 2, 3, the all 7 set.
All right, so we're going to use, I think, an all 7 set.
Quite a bit. So let's just see where we're at.
All right, I'm looking at where he's setting up.
6, 2, 8.
We're most interested in what his toss is doing, not so much the numbers. I know every shooter cares about the numbers, but let's look at where he's setting up. Now, I know Dave loves that little swing toss. We're going to look at it in more detail here in a little bit, but what do you see that I see? Do you see that little
5, 2, 7.
That little rainbow arc
Keep going with a few
in the toss? That's the problem that I have with any kind of pendulum toss. It's so hard to keep everything in the same plane. It's just a little bit
hard to
back.
See that or not?
Just drift just a little bit on that forward swing. Let's look at his landing zone.
Bad picture.
We're going to get more in depth on his in just a moment. But I wanted to see, he's got a pretty deep.
6,
That
5,
looked
yo.
good. I like the way those landed. He's hitting close to the wall. I think he's probably got a hard surface down there. And that's great for practice. It's great for logging rolls. You can adjust your landing zone based on table conditions.
Picking these dice up.
I'm going to let him do one more and get set up. Now I'm going to stop it real quick.
4, 1, 5. One more.
Those split out on him a little bit. Now, you know, none of us are built the same. But look at those dice. Look at those dice in his hands. Does that left die look higher than the right die? I think it is. That left die is just a little bit higher. Now, it's not that it's setting like this in his hand. He would feel that, but it's what it is it's rocking over on that middle finger. Instead of being square, it's rocking over. So that's one of the reasons I've got a feeling, and I asked him to send me some more footage of his grip. We'll look at that shortly. But when you're setting your dice up like that, if you're laying them on your fingers, you can rock it and you won't even feel it unless you've got a keen sense. one more thing while I've got it stopped. Now we're all different heights, we're all different builds. And I'm not sure, obviously, where his head is in relation to where the dice are. But I'm going to bet you that his eyes, if I look straight down on his eyes, I'm going to bet you that they're somewhere between his elbow and his wrist. Probably close to the wrist. So if we look at, you got his elbow is basically sitting on the rail. Now he's got himself braced, but I can see that his body is turned. Okay, I can see that his body is turned. So I would like to see him go from a little more like this, if possible, to straight ahead. And then I'd also like to see, instead of setting up with his arms stretched way out, bring those dice probably right into the inside line, as close to that inside line, maybe even on the red side of that pass line, to where he's shooting more or less down, shooting more or less straight down the horn line there, that silver line that you see in the black. If he were shooting more down that, his eyes would be probably directly over and looking straight down to his landing zone. But I think he's got the dice too far out in the table.
3-1-4. All right.
Like a
There's a
3-1-4.
few pauses. Maybe
Again,
you can do
if he's
something
using
with that. No, let me know and I'll be glad to throw
an
some
all
more.
7 set,
Thank you.
I'm not going to worry about the numbers. I know he's worried about the numbers, but I think if we can get some things done. Now,
All right,
let me
let's do a
stop
few
for a moment.
rules.
I got to fix
See
this
how-
because we've got grabbed the wrong one. It'll bring me down here smaller, just so we can see the landing zone. Now we're going to get a good shot up there where the dice are of his grip. Give us a little better look at his grip. He did this because I asked him. I said, send me something with your grip.
Things are going. I apologize. My grip cam is slower for some reason.
You know,
It's just not.
it's hard to get 3 cameras all
So,
synced up.
I'm gonna
He knows
do my
that.
grip.
I know that.
I'm
Y'all
gonna hold it
probably
there for
know
just a
that.
second so that you can
All right, now
hopefully,
look at the
get a good
difference.
view of it.
Okay, now this is not shot on the same day. This is not shot on the same day. But look how much further even to the middle of the table. I think he's got the dice a little further to the middle of the table than he did on the previous portion of the video that we saw. Now, looking at his grip, there's a lot of pad of the fingers. And that's okay as long as they're getting equal pressure. I'd probably like to see them squeeze a little more towards the tips, but I don't want too much pressure. Too much pressure would negate the fact that you went to your fingertips. So right now we're going to go with that grip, and I think we could adjust his stance. You see this arm right here? You can see his left arm. He's leaning on the rail. It looks like he's leaning on the rail. He's probably still anchoring himself in, but I think he's still turned cockeyed a little bit to the table. I'd like to see him more straight down the line of that rail. Square to the table. Square to the table. That's what I'm trying to say.
And here we go. start off with 415.
Alright. If I could talk him out of that backswing, I would. I don't think I'm going to do it. He's been doing it so long.
All 7 set.
But, you know, if he's going to change, right now is the perfect time to change. The muscle memory is kind of gone from all the previous setups that he's used. But that, you can tell. You could tell right there, that backswing, he came inside to the pass line, then went back outside the pass line. So watch his swing. Watch this swing, this pendulum motion. And so many people teach this. I understand that. Well, that's straight. All right, so they flew straighter that time.
145.
Let's see what it does this time.
Now you might notice that my
If I could just take a
spot is just
crayon.
a little bit different, and it's because I move around. You know, I have to move to go get the dice to come back, and I'm not standing in exactly the same
Just
spot
take a
every single
crayon.
time. So what I am trying to do is have
Draw
it
on
directly
that
below,
table where his
my
arc is. There's an outward motion, there's a back, and it's partially, maybe even due to his stance.
But it may not always be exact.
That was pretty straight. He went a little bit inside the table on the backswing and then came back across. That's why I preach so hard about shooting from the deck. I'm okay with the grip I'm seeing. I'm sure he's doing it lightly. If you're doing it like that, do a very light grip. I know he didn't like that 3-4-7, but that's a primary hit on an all 7. You know, a lot of the reasoning behind that little backswing is to try to soften the landing. A lot of people believe that you can do a little bit of a backswing and then you can just release it and kind of let it drop over there. That takes a lot of practice, but you've got to be really good about being straight up and down the line. And it's a lot of motion. It's like in golf. You got a backswing that you got to contend with. You got a downswing you got to contend with. You got to kick the hips in and follow through. It's the same principles here. If you're going to do that, it just adds so much more opportunity for error. Grip is consistent.
It's a 5-2-7.
That was a pretty good looking little swing right there. Excuse me.
Primary hit.
He's consistent. He felt those dice separate. He pushed it in with his. But again, there's just a little bit of motion. Now, those dice landed well. He got a primary hit, 6-1 on the all 7. Personally, you know, if you're going to use an on 7, you're generally better off trying to throw some type of off-axis toss.
Fire 4.
Got a 4-2 looks like. Really like the fact he used two different colored dice too.
Nice 9 shots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Go for a few more here. 5, 4, 2, 3. Of course, it looks backward on yours. It probably looks like 5, 3, 2, 4. Here. I'm going to move over just a little bit.
See, his arm is really okay. All right, there's part of our issue. I'm going to back that up. Just, I want you to see his arm is actually resting on, you know, his tossing arm is actually on the rail. And so he's not really tossing from elbow to fingertips, and that particular toss right there was easily visible that he's tossing more, not completely, but more from the elbow to the fingertip. He's following through, but he's starting this motion. So I'm going to say, if you're going to do the motion with a straight arm. If you're going to do the pendulum, straight arm this way. His goes back like this, comes down, then he picks up the shoulder a little bit. Let's watch and see. Let's bring her back. Right here. All right.
I'm going to move over just a little bit.
Watch the elbow down. Yep. So
There's a 2, 4, 6. Man, they just flew away from each other.
that's muscle memory that he's developed over the years.
Oops, that rolled there. That redwood was a 4.
And everything I'm suggesting, if he tries it, he's going to find it totally uncomfortable because it's going to go against his muscle memory. So it takes practice to break that muscle memory. Yep, arm down, elbow down. That's an elbow down toss.
5, 6.
And it may be unavoidable. I mean, this may be one of those things that Dave has to do. But if there's any way he could bring those dice closer to him, he might be able to get that full swing on that arm. Or shoot from the deck, Dave, and go forward. But I know. But yeah, see, he's elbow back and then arm through, and that causes so much opportunity for error in your alignment going down the craps table. His setup's consistent, perfectly consistent.
Too much energy there.
Rolled his wrist a little bit, got him on the edge. They bounce left. We all do that. It's going to be easier to roll your wrist, people, if you're not using your shoulder. Still going to do it sometimes. It's a hard habit. You can get into it and not even realize you're doing it. I think the dice are a little bit slanted. Yep, left die went left
3-9.
more than the right. I think those dice were cocked a little bit. Would love to have some one-on-one time with this shooter right here. Look at, all right, look. Look at that left die. It may be touching. I'm looking at the grip. It's hard to tell with the black touching the black. But when I'm looking at his straight down view, it looks to me like the black die is tilted higher than the red die. So let's see what happens with that toss. They separate. I bet you the left die
4, 6, 10.
got ahead a little bit. They definitely split. Could have been a little thumb pressure on that too. But that rocking, that may have been what caused that split. It looked that way to me. And again, it may be the camera angle. It may just be the angle. It may be an optical illusion. Those looked really good. I love the way they're sitting at the wall. Very, very little pyramid involvement with that toss. Very, very little. All right, let's back that. Let's stop. I want to go back. I want to really look at finger alignment on this left and this top left corner here. I went too far. Just a couple of. Hang on. Let's do it again. I want us to look at something on the finger alignment on that grip. Okay. Ring finger. He's almost ready to grab those dice. So let's watch it. But it looks to me like he's got a little bit more ring finger on the red die than he does with his index finger on that black die. And I realize he's also trying to squeeze them together just a little bit. So watch the motion as I hit the start button. Yep. He actually went deeper on the black.
It is a 4-5-9.
Minor things can make a difference. One thing Dave's going to get, because he's got his table, is he's going to get some table time. And that's what we all need. Table time. I'm hoping that he'll work a little bit on that shoulder to finger instead of elbow to fingertip. Pendulum. I'd really hope that he'd go from the deck. But we don't want to change too much.
All right, just a couple more.
I think it's a little more of
5-4.
You know, if you're going to do the pendulum, let's try to get it from the shoulder down to the fingertips. Watch him there. Elbow. Yep. He's going back a little bit from the elbow, then picking up the top of his arm on the follow through.
All right, I think we'll
I
stop
think
it
he
there.
might be able to, if you bring them in just a little,
Analyze what's going
bring
on
them
there.
to you.
Look forward
a
to
little bit.
your analysis, see how it goes. All right, man. Thank you for doing this.
Make
Really
it easier
appreciate
to swing.
it. We'll talk to you later.
I used to shoot exactly that way. All right, let's do this. Well, y'all don't want to look at a black screen. You don't have to look at a big screen of me. What I'm going to do though, bring this up here real quick, just for a minute. We'll take this out for a second. All right, so Dave, here's what I'm going to say. Everything I just said, but I want to break it down a little bit. Your arm is lean. I know you're bracing yourself. Make sure you're not leaning on your left elbow at all, or forearm. Make sure you're only holding on with your hand to brace yourself. Make sure you're square as you can possibly get to the table. If you're tall enough, lean further over if that's where you're going to set your dice. If it's not, see if you can bring your dice in just a little bit closer to you. If you can't do that, the next thing to work on is the backswing should be from here that way, not from here this way. If you'll go back and look at what we were looking at on that video, you'll see there's a difference. It's going to be hard to do. It's going to be hard to practice it because your muscle memory right now is elbow to fingertip on the backswing and picking up the full arm. Let's get a more of a full arm motion if possible. Try it and see. You know, you don't have to make all these little ideas of mine. You don't have to take any of them. You're a qualified shooter. But some of those things might help other people. So that's why we go over them. That's why we're doing this series. I appreciate Dave sending that in. You know, it takes a special person to put themselves on the line with something like this. Dave is a special person. We all know that. We love him. So I appreciate very much him taking the time to let me look at his toss and see if there were anything that I could offer that might make a difference to him and also make a difference to all of our viewers, because he's got great viewers as well. So, all right. I appreciate all y'all watching. If you've got a toss you'd like for me to look at, like for me to break down, send it in. Send me an email at roll2winCraps@gmail.com. Send me the file if it's not too big, or you can send me a link to cloud storage. You can make it private on YouTube, whatever you'd like to do. Haven't been rough on anybody yet, so I'm going to give Dave 2 thumbs up. He's a great guy, and I'm proud he's got his new table. I'm glad to see him slide all the way down to stick left 1, because that's a long toss if he goes any further left. He's tossing at about 9.5 feet or so. That's about where I toss from. He might be closer to 10, but work on that. If you're going to use that backswing, see if you can get more of a full arm motion, and maybe it'll help you also if you can bring the dice in or get a little further over them. I'm going to keep emphasizing this on most all of these videos, is for sure. You really need to be set up over your dice as much as possible, so that when you look at your dice, make sure you're square to the table, and then you can just rotate your head and you're looking at your landing zone, and everything is in perfect alignment. You want the same plane, or as close to the same plane as possible, from the dice through your eyes. All right, everybody. Practice like you play like you practice. Go roll to win.